All right. Well, another beautiful day in Tennessee. I don't know how many of these we get before we're going to be hot and humid and miserable, but it's a gorgeous one today. And we always sort of put our ear to the ground through the week and try to get different conversations and different questions. And what's important, what's clicking, what are the pieces that we need to have. And so one of the things we talked about, we had a good lesson today and was working with a gal, and we were talking about horses picking you up from the mounting block. And there's the mechanical act of getting on, being safe to get on, but there's also a secondary and more important effect that is often not, I don't think, well understood or missed, and certainly at times probably not expressed how important it is by myself. And that is the process of solving the problem of picking you up in the mounting block is as important as the actual picking you up. Let me put it in a little bit of a hierarchy. We've talked every week about getting the feet freed up. If you get the feet freed up, then you have a horse that has a chance to get in a good frame of mind. But just because the feet freed up doesn't mean they're going to automatically stay or be in a good frame of mind. Sometimes they need more. And what more looks like in this case is that they're part of the problem-solving solution. Or more importantly, you're going to hear me say, what we're trying to do is get the feet freed up and then turn on the think in the horses. And turning on the think is the critical part. A horse that's tight won't go in problem-solving mode. A horse that's in a state of self-preservation or a state of defense won't go in self-preservation. So it's one thing to get them lined up and get on from the fence or get on from the mounting block, whatever you want to do. It's another thing to have them participate. When they actively participate, there's a level of connection that will start to grow and increase. So it's a combination of freeing up the feet and then turning on the think enough where they start to solve or look for the solution. So whenever I get in a spot they don't understand, I would like their first thought to be, Greg, what do we need to do here? How can we solve this? And when I present them something they don't really understand, I want them to go in the active mode of how to solve it or how to find the release of pressure and how to find the success in the event. And that can only occur on a horse that's pretty relaxed. So oftentimes the true value of getting them up to the mounting block or getting on from the fence is lost in the fact that you can get on them. The critical part is the fact that they're getting ready to get on and they're actively doing it. And so one of the ways we'll do this is, and I'll go through this real simply today in a sort of a three-phase progression. So this would be like fast forward photography. You'll see this go in three different angles. I'll do a basic angle, a little more advanced angle, and then finally what I call the full sweep. And in order to get a horse to go through the full sweep, they have to be actively participating. The good thing about Dempsey, one of the things I love about Dempsey right now is pretty much everything I need to do to demonstrate wrong, he's pretty willing to do that. And everything that I need to do, which will be when the softness in the field, hopefully it'll be a way of life. We're looking for maybe this fall, this next winter, and have him think about following us through a field the whole time. But this is where it starts. And the horse we're working with today is just a little tight, very sensitive. And my students will often hear me say it, what these horses need is 1,000 small successes. And with 1,000 small successes, you start to build a leadership and a connection and a relationship to pretty quick whatever you point them at. Their first thought is, how can we solve this rather than I can't solve this? So getting on from the fence, we want them to be in that 7-foot long box. We want all 4 feet in the box, and the box should be 8 or 10 or 12 inches off the fence. So we're going to work on putting him in the box, and all we're going to do is work on the principle of making the wrong thing difficult and the right thing easy. And so what I want to do is come at a fairly shallow angle. Again, the goal will be he'll be facing that way parallel to the fence. So I'm going to come at a fairly shallow angle if we'd never done this before, I might just start right here. When I first start doing this, I'll make sure I got a leg on each side. And then I'm going to put a little bump on him. The rhythm is really important. I need to protect my space. And I'm waiting for his hips to step over into the box. Don't mash me. And that's just about ideal. He's in the box. He's, if we measured it, he'd be about 6 inches off my leg. There's just enough room for my leg. Ideal position to get on. I worked from this angle. The next time I'm going to work perpendicular, so he has a bigger sweep. And then the last, I'll come from this direction where he has to sweep all the way around and pick me up. Now I'm overdoing the left side because we're going to get on off the left side. There's a set of circumstances where I do this on the left side and a set of circumstances where I do this on the right side, both. So one other thing, and I get this very particular with my students, when I go to get down, I like you guys to step down a rail and then push on him a little bit. And when his feet move, release. So he steps over and actively gives me a place to step down. If Poppy over here got excited and jumped off the golf cart and scared him, he'd be less apt to mash me on the fence by giving me that permission. So it's another little simple thing. Now we're going to come at a perpendicular angle. I would like to get this so good, when Dempsey sees me put my left foot up on the fence here, he starts to sweep into the box. There's no sweep yet. Now I'm ready to get ask. Start soft. A little more pressure. Notice the rhythm is really critical here. There's my release. Release. Again, it has to be difficult enough for him to start to search for an answer, but I don't want to scare him or hurt him. Not bad. Just about ideal. I definitely have at least 3 feet in the box. He's licking his lips. Give him a second there. I start this out in the halter. Once this gets good, then I have no problem lifting on my inside rein of my snaffle bit. Now we'll ask those feet to move. Release. Release. Reward the smallest change in the slightest try. Now, you might do this over a few minutes or a couple of days, but eventually what you're going to do is you're going to come down the fence line and ask him to go from here, sweep 180 degrees into the box. Release. Hey, Linda. There, Karen. California's represented well. Now, I might just ask him to step that hip over. Each time the hip's gotten a little bit worse. This is a good time for him to solve it. But you see him run into my hand there. I'm saying, you got to find your space around me. It's not over me or through me. That's better. Another step. Now, here's a good place. You'll notice that his feet aren't quite square. A lot of times what happens is people get on, and as soon as they swing a leg over, the horse leaves, and one of the reasons they leave is they're out of balance. So when you add your weight to the saddle, they move a foot forward to rebalance themselves, and they think, well, while I'm going, I might as well keep going. So if you have a horse that needs to be rebalanced, a lot of times big, slow movements of the front of your saddle. That's already better. That's just about perfect position. There's a lot of things we can do from here. We can do feed sack or slicker or flag work, rope work to expose them to different things. There's a jillion things we can do from here. But the primary thing is we're turning on the think. When you turn on the think, that's when you start to get a sense of following your leadership and a sense of relaxation. Ask for our permission again. Release. There's my step. Good. So there's our progression. And that'd be something that I would do and keep good. Once this gets good, you'll see. And again, like everything with Dempsey, we're just building a little bit on time. Nothing has to be perfect this week, but I want a general steady progression. But once this gets good, you'll probably see about 45 seconds a week in order to maintain it and keep it good. Okay? All right, we'll go ahead and bridle him. Uh,
Say hi to Maureen from Rockport, New York.
Maureen from Rockport. Hi.
Rockport.
Okay. Rockport.
Charlene Barber from Pennsylvania.
Charlene. It's nice to see all you guys on there. We'll get some new faces on there. Now, when I'm bridling up, I got it tied around the throat latch again here. One thing I want to do is I want to make sure, and we've been working on this since the very beginning in the videos that we've done. You'll see Dempsey did anything but put his head down. He's a pretty good sized horse. I don't want to chase his head all over the sky. So I'm going to get everything all organized here. This is a pretty old, kind of half wore out head stall. But I'm going to put the lead rope in the crook of my arm here, and the lead to my McCarty here. That way everything is here and in a good spot. Okay, we'll ask him to put his head down again. The first thing I'm going to do is just swing this under his chin. No.
Moving your mic up.
Sure. Move my mic up.
Not getting too soft.
Okay, is that any better? No?
Fine to me.
Okay. All right, so now I'm going to capture it up underneath his chin. I have it in my left hand. I'm going to put his head down. And I want my horse soft enough I can push on him with my right wrist. I'm going to change hands. This is going to drop it down into my left hand. I want his head down, release. There, I can present it. Ask him to open that up. And anybody that remembers the first 15 times I tried to bridle Dempsey this spring, he spent more of the time trying to bite and put everything in his mouth than he did getting bridled. So the fact that he's not trying to bite stuff kind of shows that he's in a little better frame of mind. So when he's chewing on stuff, it's kind of Dennis the Menace, but it was coming from a place of being a little unsure, being a little distracted. Now I go ahead and take my halter off. And my McCarty always has a twist in it. I always go the same way. My twist goes half twist this way and over my horn. That way if he'd do a big head shake, he's not going to swing that off. Less likely to swing that off, step on it and hurt his mouth or bang himself. Tony. All right, Tony. Let me think about Tony's horse a little bit. He's had some breakthroughs on his horse. I either tuck this back through or retie my halter knot. And then I like to lay this just in the crook of my headstall like this. It's all ready to go for the next time.
Oh, Devlin needed the volume up. She's working a horse again.
Oh, Devlin's multitasking. Imagine that. I can't imagine Devlin multitasking. Surely not. All right. Kathy Crissetti. Wow, good. Kathy, hi. That's Poppy saying hi, Kathy. She's so excited to hear your name, she couldn't stand herself. So, okay, I'm going to go take him now. Now that we've got a little bit of something going, I can lift on this inside lead of my McCarty, but I'm going to do the full sweep on him again. Yeah, I like a mounting block and I like a rail in front to represent the fence. I don't want them circling the mounting block. Parallel to the mounting block. Parallel, yes. So I want him sweeping. There, he ran into my hand. Okay, so his feet aren't too bad. Let me rock him here a little bit. Now, there his hips stepped away, so I'm just going to ask him to step back. There's a nice step with his ribs bending. Okay. Not too bad. The 4 feet, they look okay in there. I think I like it. He's pretty stable. Now, this is a great place to not get in a big hurry. Okay, take your time. I'm going to get all set. I don't like getting gathered in my saddle. I like to be pretty much gathered when I get there. So I ride with this McCarty so the lead goes on my crook of my arm. My left rein goes short. My left foot goes in the stirrup, just the toe, not the foot. Take hold of a handful of mane, halfway on. Now, sometimes if those horses have a tendency to walk off, One of the ways you can break that pattern, and we had a question about this, is what I can do is just take, and the first thing rather than walk off is anticipate, is slide down and just take his head around without his feet moving. Now if his feet move, I'm gonna wait for that give. There's about a half or 3/4 pound. Now it's about 5 pounds on my hand. I'll wait for him to come off that pressure. There's my release. He'll start to anticipate the bend versus the walking off, and it gets him much more patient to get on. And then on horses that are pretty eager to leave, now I'm gonna wait for the give. If he gives, great. If he moves his feet, we'll figure it out. Now he's getting heavier and heavier, heavier. I'd say that's about 15, 20 pounds now, 30. We'll wait. I could move my right leg and draw his eye, but it's sort of doing his homework for him. I want him to get comfortable, find his way off this pressure. Release. Release. There we go. Now the last thing I'll mention, I'll just take a little trip here, but on those horses, and Donna mentioned this today, and I don't think I've been talking about this enough. We've mentioned some of this a bit, but you got a horse that's kind of busy or gets a little bit anxious there. When you're done, ride back to your mounting block, let him stand, get square, and step off. So now there's release here. They're not always going to work. There's some reward and some release. Okay, so that's a good thing. I'm going to take and do a little bend here again. He's got a little focus out here. We got a lot of stuff happening around us again. This is a nice, active day. All right, we'll ride him here a little bit. Sure. Yes. Was it from Tony or Daryl? Okay, I just got to know who I'm addressing.
What's something you do now in preparation for a ride that you wish you did years ago?
Whoa, what? Something I do now in preparation for a ride that I wished I did years ago. Well, I can tell you, Tony, one of my Achilles heels for a couple of years was right here, not getting my horses to step actively off my left leg, right there. I was getting 70% of that, 60% of that, sometimes 30% of that, and it was allowing my horses to not get in a frame of mind where they felt freed up, and it kept them in perpetually, among other things, 1,000 things. Let me show you something that I had a dickens of a time doing. Now I'll step that foot over. Now I'm going to wait for him to come off the pressure. I'm going to step him over again so you guys can see his head. One thing I had, there's my step, that's where I want him. I'll wait for the give. One of the symptoms I had, Tony, is on this side. When I'd bend him around, I never got really any softness. The head would feel like I was rusty hinged coming around. The other thing, and this is a friend of mine, Kurt Pate, pointed out, and I really have thought a lot about this since he said this many years ago, but their ears weren't level. Their ears are pretty level. So those are two indications. If that head is stiff to come around, those ears aren't level. I'd like to see those ears level up a little bit. Tells me I'm not getting to these hind quarters. And as soon as I start getting to this hind quarter, so that's one thing, is I got more effective at getting my horse's hindquarters freed up, especially the left hind. That was the one that being right-handed, I had more braces on there getting in my horses, getting to my horses, and then it stayed longer. That was definitely my Achilles heel. That's one thing. Wow, I don't know. It'd have to be Facebook Live for 42.5 years to cover everything that I needed to improve on to get better. But that's a big thing is and where my horses have made a change. And as a result of that, Tony, I used to have to do hundreds of one-range stops to get anything going. What I lacked in feel and effectiveness, I had to make up for in quantity. And now I do one-range stops, but I don't have to do them very often. See, this guy's just barely meeting my standard. I could just get him out of trouble here. So I found that I was having to repeat a lot of one-rein stops, and my horses weren't getting a whole lot better. The other thing that resulted in, because the better I can get the left hind to step up, the better I can get the right hind, I'm using my right leg there to untrack, and you can still see the difference on him, the better I could get my horses to get soft in my reins. So how those feet step up is correlated to how they'll eventually get soft and eventually collect. So that was another piece. Great question, holy smokes. Good, that was good. So setting this up at the, bumping up to the fence where it turns on a little more search. And again, I would call this league minimum. He's just barely where I want him. Certainly not any more than I would, he's not got excess there, or I'm not highly satisfied with his softness, but he's a work in progress, and it's, you know, is the hill to die on? Nope, but it needs to keep progressing, and it needs to progress a little bit every ride. And then Tracy, our good friend Tracy, asked a question about, we originally talked about just, I'm going to draw my left leg back here and see if I can draw his mind a little to the left and step his hips to the right. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, like that. And she said her horse, he's real sensitive, redhead, pretty high powered, big motor, I know the horse. If he just starts to lose his focus in what our friend Linda calls a hard stare, which I've used that thousands of times, when he goes from being with me to picking up that hard stare, if she doesn't catch it early, I believe she said it was cement-covered stick of dynamite. That's pretty much would describe that horse. How can I get it? Well, she already mentioned it in her answer. She said she has to get it early, okay? Getting it early as soon as they start to leave. When you miss it, you got to do the same thing I did. You just got to get down there. You got to help them find it. Make the most, do the most you can for damage control, and come back and rinse and repeat. But inherent in that answer is get him a lot softer when, again, the thinking part of this exercise will turn into thinking here. If he's really aware of me, he'll feel this shift right here. See, he's not really feeling that. There he is a little bit. He's trying. This is definitely a Lake Wobegon moment for him. Okay, see if I can draw his mind a little left. Now there he's fixing to leave. I might just pick that soft feel up and set him back. Now another thing I can do on a horse that's struggling, and I'm sure I'll do that on this horse some, is I can just go set him right here. Now I'm going to draw, release, release. So I can kind of use that as a natural block. I've been stuck horses at release, release, there's it is. So that's something I'll use to bridge the gap on a horse. I'm sure I'll do that plenty on this guy in the process because he's not really tuned in. Little things are not important to him. The little inputs right now are not that important to him because he's been taught to ignore it. It's like somebody that grew up in a family. There was a Saturday Night Live skit about 40 years ago. And the family grew up and they all just screamed at each other all the time. And that was their normal level of talking, was 90 decibels. If you lived in a household like that and somebody said something kind of nice and quiet and soft, it wouldn't even register until it got to 95 decibels. That's the way this guy's ridden. He doesn't even think about getting soft in my hands until it exceeds 80 pounds. But he's been ridden in a lot, excuse me, a lot of gimmicks, a lot of pressure, and without a lot of release. Okay, so that's part of it in a nutshell. You got something to add to that?
Linda Morel asked while you were working on that. She said, would you mind thinking out loud about your position on rein, angle of rein?
Are you talking about stepping the hindquarters over?
Sure.
Are you talking about stepping those hindquarters over, Linda? Is that the context at which we're doing this?
Amanda Peterson said hi.
Boy, is it nice to hear her voice.
So what
Okay, so one of the things I'm going to use my right leg. You're going to see me roll my toe out. Go ahead.
Tracy said facing his friends with the fence as an assist and rolling my toe is a great idea.
Yeah. The other thing, Tracy, is I'll do on a horse like that is I'll get on the ground and bump him off my stirrups, and I'll get to where I can just move my stirrup leather without touching him and get him to step over. So rather than bump, bump, bump with a pound to get him over, I'll get to where I can just put a little waggle in that stirrup from the ground. I can pet him and he understands it. I can put a little waggle on it and he steps over. So I can really help myself from the ground if I need to. Okay. Now, who? Ben. Ben Harris. Hey, Ben.
Linda says yes. And or taking head around.
Oh, okay. They're highly related questions. Taking the head around. Let's talk about taking the head around and stepping. If I'm just I want to get my horse where I can just reach for him and his head starts to come around, and I don't really change my leg position any. I just get out of his way. But I want to do it simply with my hands.
Does that change depending on how advanced the horse is? Your angle?
Yeah, the angle really changes. So that's a great point. Let me get lined back up here again. On a really green horse, I'm going to slide down, or a really brace horse. So my hand's going to come clean out over my knee and right back to where my car keys would go. If I had a horse that was really soft in the hackamore and I was going to put a little bend on, my hand might take this inside track right there. My hand automatically goes wide enough to be effective. I can feel where it needs to be. This is one of the things that's become automatic is I don't have to think about widening my hand. I need it as wide. There's times when your hand, they're so braced up or they're stuck and you're clean out at the end of your strength. You almost got no strength out there, but your hand has to be out over your knee to get that done. So that is really important. The other thing is I'm going to stay on a plane about even with my hip pocket. Maybe about like that. You'll see me lift on one and then come around on one that's maybe like him that's a little more braced or a little more stuck. But generally I want that plane to be right there. Okay? Now, if I wanted to reach my right front to the right, okay, I'm going to roll my toe. I'm going to invite this shoulder right by doing what I call stretch, like there's a rubber band. We've talked about this. It's an image I use quite a bit with people from the inside branch of my stirrup to his elbow. There's just a rubber band, and I stretch that. I've given that shoulder permission to go right. If my foot is here, there's no way he should step into that, because that, even though it's not touching him, that provides a barrier. So basically you want this to be your stirrup, this to be their shoulder. If you open that up, I want them to get back to that spot. If you close it, then you work like this. So if I want the shoulder to move, I'm going to stretch the rubber band. Now I'm going to get a little different angle here. Hopefully this helps. But if I'm going to ask for the hind quarter, I'm going to roll it a little further, and now I'm making contact with the top of my, in his case, the top of my calf, and now the back of my boot, and I'll put a little waggle on it here, like I would tap somebody at a noisy, there's my change, at a noisy dinner party. If I need your attention, I might tap you on the shoulder. Draw, release. There's my step. That's the first soft one we really got today off the right side. He's done like 5 of those in his whole life. Now, I'm going to draw his mind left, release. Now, I had a little assist out here, but I'll take it. And I'll draw right, release, 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 and there his feet are getting ready to move. Now, there he prepared to step over. Then he left. One of the keys in this exercise, now we're getting our horses to step off our seat and leg with no rein. One of the keys, there, I wanted to move that foot, or wait for him to move it actually, is you have to feel them preparing their body to step over versus preparing their body to go forward. There's 2 different feels to that. So it probably won't take me long till he prepares to move forward. I'm going to ask him here to the right. I'm putting a little waggle. There he stepped over. Now he's leaving. That's when I catch him, and we'll set him back. Notice the height of my hands. I'm working on his neck there. Okay? So this leg position is really critical. We like that, don't we, buddy? You're a pretty good boy, aren't you? He says, this thinking stuff is fun. He says, I didn't know I could ever be this soft. He said, and I didn't know soft could be valued. And he's not soft yet, guys, by any stretch of the imagination. He's a long ways from soft. But he's a lot softer than he used to be now. He's already looking over here. He's got some horse activity over there. I'm going to draw. Now, there I'm asking that head. We'll see if he can make it here without leaving. Nope, he's leaving. So I got a couple of different opportunities. One is I can just pick up a soft feel, kind of put those feet back where they came from. Now we'll do it again. I'm going to let him yawn that out. That yawn means a lot with Dempsey. I'm going to let him just soak there for a second. It's good stuff.
Say hi to Steph Brinkman.
Hi, Steph. All these people I'm going to get to see in the next month and a half. Huh? Val Kane? Yeah. Wow, nice to see or hear from Val. We miss you too, Val. There's a whole bunch of people on here I don't get to see much anymore. When we go to New Jersey, it just doesn't seem right unless she's there to visit. Now we'll draw. There he's leaving. I'll set him back. So I certainly wouldn't go to 100 asks and failures here. I'd go ahead and stick his nose on the fence. I got no problem with that. There, I did a little rain assist there to help him out. So that's how I present myself to it. So head and hand position is real important. One other thing, Linda, when I'm going down my rein, to be efficient, you know this, you've ridden a lot of green colts, a lot of tough horses. The one thing you don't want to do is bend your body. You want to get short on your rein, but you don't want to bend your body out here and get your feet behind you because you're really vulnerable. So one of the things I get people trying doing is what happens with the right hand here, I'll reach across and like a pull cue, I'm going to draw with my right hand. Now I'm right at the edge. That's as far as I can lean forward without getting out of my balance. But I'm quite a ways down that rein. And on a big long-necked horse like this, that's a pretty handy thing. Okay? I'll draw with my left hand, kicks forward, put slack in rein, take his head around. So managing these reins, draw, but watch his right hand kick ahead. Right there. Okay? So that's really important. Well, that enhances that angle and also keeps me busy. You've ridden horses like this before. Linda, you get right here, and they're going to go stage left at 100 miles an hour, and they're going to leave you in the middle of the air, look like a Roadrunner cartoon. Because they feel you get out of balance and get vulnerable here, get your feet behind you. And you don't have to get a horse to buck you off. They'll just jump out from underneath you. You'll fall off. So that's one of the ways you want to do it. The other thing is if a horse is going down on one rein and we've got a little speed, as I go down there, you're going to see my right leg come out here and prop. I'll widen that leg out and I'll brace against that leg a little bit to give me a little more broader base of support on one that's a little quick. So these are defensive things you learn. And like everything else, you learn them by making mistakes at the wrong time and then you finally figure it out. So sliding down and drawing is really important. What you don't want your hand to be here. And when the head comes around, you can see it doesn't even feel it, but my hand gets behind me here. Now I'm tipping out here. He's got me off balance. If he just turned hard left, I'd probably just fall off. So sliding down keeps my hand from getting behind my hip. Never want your hand behind your hip.
Deb Tambolio says hi.
Hi, Deb. So we're got some ideas for working some stuff back in your area again there, Deb. I've been out of your area for a long time. Miss you guys. Okay, so there's our soft feel. There's our foundation in terms of turning on the think.
Do you want to delve into what Stu said?
Well, what Stu said is pretty deep, but we can go ahead and delve into it. Do you want to read it? Do you want to talk about it? He's talking about feel. Our good friend Stu is he's a thinker and he's working hard and he's really putting these pieces together. And he's thinking about some of this stuff, this elusive thing we call feel. All right. Oh, you're going to have me read it? Oh, this ought to be good. Thanks. All right. He says a message. He says, I find that trying to achieve this elusive thing we call feel, in quotes, is difficult because it is made up of so many small pieces. I think that's one of the lines of the year right there. When something goes wrong or a movement isn't what I hoped for, I can't seem to break it down quickly enough to understand what actually happened so I can fix it. Because of that, I end up repeating the same mistake, and since muscle memory is muscle memory, whether it's right or wrong, I worry that I'm just reinforcing a bad habit instead of rebuilding the right movement. How do I get better at diagnosing and correcting this in the moment? Okay, so nobody ever said a muscle memory is permanent. If a muscle memory was permanent, you'd never be able to advance martial arts, because an advanced level move is completely different. It's the foundations, and you're changing a lot of muscle habits and muscle memories. I think that's the beginning of the awareness. Secondly, know that you're going to blow it until you don't. And when you blow it, this is where the shift in your thinking comes in. You've got to shift and think of it as, rather than having made a mistake, and I know this is a kind of a cliche and people talk about this, but this is a place where it really is important. Rather than seeing it as a mistake, think of it as an opportunity to get it right again. Okay? I missed it and I got a chance to get it right again. So eventually what will happen is, when you do it and repeat it and catch it, you'll start to catch it earlier and earlier and earlier. That's one thing. Another thing is, you guys, even my good friends, probably have no idea how many hundreds of thousands of times I've slid down this rein and taken the head around. Some of them I've actually been horseback, but some of them I've been sitting in my chair getting ready to go to sleep, and in my mind I'm doing this. I'm seeing the pieces move. I'm getting the feel, okay? So I ride my horses when I'm not riding my horses. When I'm driving, I'm thinking about, what are my hands doing? Okay, so that's the sort of dedication to the thinking it takes to break or replace a poor muscle memory with a better muscle memory. So awareness and a lot of repetition. So I think about this all the time. I've woke up in the middle of the night pretending I was blocking horses on the ground. Like I've been working a lot of real pushy horses, and I have to put my head up and kind of protect my space. And I wake up at night. One time when I was in California, I woke up and I was bumping on the wall. So it pervades your dreams sometimes, even you get to thinking about this stuff so much. But that's the kind of dedication it takes to get anything of any high level. Is you're not going to get it with 30 minutes a week. Okay, so I've literally probably hundreds of thousands, if not more, of times I've taken horses' heads round, and a fair percentage of those I've actually done it while I was on board. The rest of it's just mentally. My good friend Buck used to talk about something you could do to get something in mastery, and he would talk about, you can master it when you can see the entire movement, every element of the movement. Once you can see that and dedicate it visually to memory, then you can start to become a master of it. So I can literally think at night, and I know where my hand is, and I know what that feels like, and there's 6-8 ounces holding steady. I'm waiting for it to come off, and I might do this at night. Now there goes, he went to 5 or 10 pounds, 1 ounce. Now he's going to move his feet, and he's pulling 2 or 3 pounds. There's 10 pounds, and there's my release. Okay, so like anything, Stuart, it takes a lot of mental tenacity to stick with something and think it through a lot, but I try to think it through till I can imagine the whole thing. Now I hope Stu's thinking about, well, that's not that easy for Greg, because Greg's a real kinesthetic learner and he's not that visual. You're correct. So I think it's even more challenging than it is for someone that is highly visual. I think they can see it easier. Buck is a very visual learner. So it's probably easier for him to picture it than it is to me. But it just means I have to work at it a little harder, like everything else. Okay. All right, what else we got?
Maureen Kuchta
Mm-hmm.
She said, my horse has a tendency to be sluggish responding to my leg.
Mm-hmm.
He could easily become hard-sided if I nag him. How
Yes.
do you suggest I keep him sensitive and responding to a light aid?
All right. So her horse has a history or even a tendency to want to get dull to his leg. First thing is never ask for something and not see it through. So I'm going to step his hips over to the right. Okay, I'm going to tip his nose a little bit. I'm putting my leg on. Okay, oh, I didn't get it enough. I just quit right there. I've just rewarded him being dull. But if I stick with it, now he's not making it. So I might just add a little to this. Okay, now there's my step. Now I want that left hind a little more specific. There's the step I want. And that's when he came off my hand. So first of all, when you first start, you can't ask for something that you can't see your feet. Okay? So when I'm asking you to step to perfection, I've ever been right here. Well, I'm not getting it, but mentally I got it down. If he gives it to me, I'm ready for it. Mentally I'm prepared. You probably heard it somewhere, if not from me, and that is opportunity favors a prepared mind. So mentally I'm going to pursue perfection. But let's say I do this. Let's say when I put my left leg on, he kicks his hips into my leg, which some horses will do. And we're resistant. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to adjust to pick up on the rein. But I am not going to get something that I get a soft response. There's my soft response, and there's my release. That's close to a zero net give there. What you release for is what you're going to get. And then you have to get your consistency up. You need to get it 100 out of 100 times. So, picture it. Perfect. Execute it. Get it done. Be prepared for the small and be ready to adjust and get bigger if needed. I think that's the best way I can do it. Okay?
Real quick reset on the...
Okay, we're going to do a quick reset. We lose it. All right. See if we're back. Am I bumping there? So, anyhow, I'll go back and review anything. I'm not sure where we lost the audio or where you guys couldn't hear it. So, does anybody need clarification on that point, Maureen? Did that make a bit of sense to you? Hopefully it did. See it through? Fortunately, he's getting a little bit poodle broke because she certainly is not horse broke. So, where else? What else do we need to work on? Anybody else got a question? What else out of the files, honey, did we do?
Kim Majid says hi.
Hey, Kim. Great to see your hear your voice on there. So.
Stephanie Brinkman said there's no such thing as fail.
Yeah.
Fail is just attempt in learning.
Yeah, that's right. First attempt in learning. That's what fail stands for. I like that. You know, and a lot of times, Stephanie throws that out there, but she's not a rookie on this stuff. She's had a lot of experience at working on struggles with horses and struggles in life, and she's been through like the rest of us a lot of life. And those are the attitudes that you develop, because either you dwell on the failure, and then you're pretty quick, your mind's telling you you're incapable of doing something, or you think, well, that's just my first attempt in learning, and we'll do it again. So I like the attitude. I like the shift in one's thinking to get there. Okay?
Devlin has a question.
Who? Devlin.
She said, okay, working on timing of knowing a spooky spot, but not making it worse.
Oh.
Timing of correction to not get ahead or behind.
Mm-hmm. I think I understand what she's saying. So let's say, for example, well, we know where there's a spooky spot. It's right over here in the ring. I don't see the spotted steer this afternoon. Certainly he hasn't seen it. But let me pretend right over in this area is a spot where he's worried about the horse trailer, he's worried about the house, and it's real easy to counter bend and I'll do it on purpose here, as I ride through here, if he gets worried that something out here, you're going to see him counter bend. Now he's really dropped his right rib. As soon as he drops the right rib, he feels inhibited in movement, and that's likely to exacerbate his inclination or his likelihood to spook. So I know you'll see patterns, and this I think is kind of what she's referring to. Right there, there's the, I'm going to move that right hind up and in. There we go. There, we're way less likely to get my spook. I know that spot's coming. Now here's another one, see? So what I have to do is, it's just like Sisyphus and the rock. If I don't want to anticipate it, but I want to feel it right there. It's starting to happen. 3, 4 steps it took me. 4 steps to fix it. Now 1, 2, there's 3 steps to fix it. 1, 2 steps to fix it. Now here it's happening again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps to fix it on that one. Okay. Now there's a cleaner line. Ah, that's the first time we've come through that line clean. Okay. So see it early. And this is where the awareness comes in, where you can kind of start feeling that, devil, and you'll know because you'll feel those ribs start to move. What people say, the shoulders starting to drop. You'll see them counter bend and start to look to the outside. So see it early. Then what you want to do is fix it up and watch the trend line. If it's not getting better, then there's a way I can adjust that I would show you, Devlin, on, I don't know if I've ever had a chance to show you, kind of help them start to search for the straightness, where it becomes their idea. But I would start to do a little bit more on his part, where he starts to carry me straight, and I do a little less micromanaging. So see it early, fix it often, and try to get it. Lastly, what I would say is the softer I can get my horse to follow my seat, the easier it is to fix.
Linda would like to know if that's to distract or redirect.
Wow. Is it to distract or redirect?
Sort of what we were talking about with Tracy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and what happens.
Yeah.
And then what happens before what happens.
Yeah. I would say, just in semantics, I'm not sure, but before you have to distract them, they're easier to redirect. So you're going to redirect them more early and successful. And then you're going to have to do something to distract them, like right there. I might have to reach down and take all that right rein and tip his nose across to get to his feet. So seeing it early is the redirection. You don't quite anticipate it, because you can't, it's like giving somebody a fine because they're getting ready to speed. You can't give them a fine. You can't fine them until they actually speed, but you don't want them to get in the habit of speeding, and you don't want to be wait until they're going 100 miles an hour in a 50 mile an hour zone before they get their ticket. It puts too many people in danger. I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but maybe that translate Greg into English, you'll be able to read between those lines. This is good stuff on him. This is the most he's ever yawned with me.
She was talking about on the ground, but same.
Okay, yeah. So on the ground,
Without getting mowed over.
yeah. So the softer they are, the easier they are to redirect. The harder they are, the more, that's when you're most likely to get, in your famous words, the hard stare. So the hard stare is the enemy. That's when they're completely focused. When I do this, you guys no longer exist. I'm so focused on it right here. And if I get spooked enough, I might run you over. So that's where we got to build in the softness, and you getting to respond with an element of respect, and eventually respect will be elements of softness, and softness will become the ability to redirect easily. Like right here, he's seeing horses out there moving. Let's see if I can direct his mind back to the right here. The temptation is to pull on the right rein. There, he made it. Good. Don't go anywhere. All right, now he's building momentum, so we'll just set him back. But he gets a bonus point there because he gave it a try. Okay. These are elements of feel, and having feel is a little bit like tasting 7-Up. Once you've tasted it, once you've felt some feel, you know exactly what 7-Up tastes like. But if you've never tasted it, it's pretty hard to describe that to someone. Hard to describe to someone that's maybe lives in the middle of the Saharan desert. It's never tasted 7-Up, what it tastes like. So it's the same thing with feel. It's elusive. It goes back to what Stu was saying. There's so many small parts to it. The people, here's a whole, now I'll throw another can of worms out there. The people I've met in my life that had the most feel were also the most content. Now, are they content because they have feel, or do they have feel because they're content? That's a great question. We could talk about that one all day. But I can think of a handful of people I've met in my life, and they're my mentors in terms of trying to get to a spot where they're both, I have a deep sense of feel of what's going on around me, and I also feel content with what's going around me in every aspect of life. And there's a correlation there. I know a lot of people that have feel but aren't content, but there's a handful that have both. And I think that is the ultimate reward from the horses, is you build both a feel, which carries into other aspects of your life, and it gives you a sense of deep contentment. So that's a whole nother, that gets pretty deep pretty fast, but boy, there's a few people I really admire at how they view life. I'm not going to go into names. First of all, I'd forget somebody and make me feel bad. But that's a great conversation.
I have a more simple question.
Simple question, good. Oof.
It's from Karen Echo.
Okay.
She wants to know if the difference of having more weight from like a buckle on the side of a halter versus not.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Accept the horse.
Yeah, so you'll see, Karen, with my McCarty, I have one rein and this on this side, and I have a lead and a rein and a knot on this side. So if you weighed this, there's more pulling on his left cheek piece than there is on his right cheek piece, just hanging. There's more hanging weight. And I've had people say, well, you can't ride with those because it's not even. Well, first of all, my saddle, okay? My saddle weighs 2 more pounds to the right because of my rope than it does on the left. But also, I would love to step on a scale, because my guess is I'm not perfectly even in my feet. I might step more into my dominant foot than I do into my non-dominant foot. All these are imperfections. Now, when you get to be Bill Lawrence's age, when I met Bill, he was so busted up and he had that short leg that he rode really crooked, okay? So I know he was really crooked because he'd put a piece of wolf skin, he'd put a sheepskin on his saddle, and he'd wear a hole on one side because he was riding so crooked, okay? Your horses can learn to live with these imbalances because nothing's ever perfect. Nobody ever puts the same weight on both feet or both cheeks of their behind. But what you have to do is you can live with as long as you're consistent, you can live with a known imbalance, okay? I would think of it much like how you live in a world of being right-handed. You don't even notice stuff unless it's purposely set up for a left-handed person. So, yes, there's imbalances, and it's an unfair part of life, okay? However, it's a real part of life, and you have to learn to manage it, be aware, and try to get the best you can, and then build your feel around those imbalances. And that's part of the generosity of the horse. They have this amazing ability to forgive us in our impurities, mental, physical, emotional, many of those things. It's amazing how giving they are. So that's a great question. Yes, it makes a difference, but ultimately the awareness makes more of a difference. The feel makes more difference than the actual weight. Okay? That's a really simple, complex question. Yeah. Good question. How are we doing for time, sweetheart?
10 to 7.
We're supposed to start at we're supposed to be around
5 minutes.
quarter of. Okay. Time's fun when you're having flies. Yeah.
Just tell everybody you're going to be away until.
Yeah. So I got Dempsey's going to get 5.5 weeks off because I'm going to be on the road.
Unless I feel like it.
Yeah, unless Donna wants to crack him out, and she might if she's feeling ambitious. I leave and I go to Groton, New York, and go see Alyssa and our friends there. And then I jump on an airplane and I fly out to Karen's neck of the woods and in La Cresta and see our friends there. Then I jump on the airplane and I fly to Bothell, where Amanda is, and I see all my friends there at Olympia's at Ride and Shine. And then I fly home and I get to have about 8 hours at home to wash my clothes. And I'm going to jump in the car and I have to drive to North Carolina and see our friend Susan Hopkins, and that's in I want to say Colville. That's not right. Colfax. Yeah, Colfax, North Carolina. And then I jump in the car and I hustle to our friend Stephanie's on there with us today, up to her place in Waterbury Center, Vermont, up near Stowe area. And then I get to do some work there and then drive home, and that'll be the week after Memorial Day. I'll be home the end of the week on Memorial Day. So I'm going to be steady on the road here for a little while. So Dempsey's going to be partially, if not fully, unemployed. And it'll be interesting when we get back. It's going to be a big change in the weather. Get back, it's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. It'll be Tennessee at its worst. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of a foundation. How long does it take to get this back? That's a real important piece. Because the stronger this is, the easier it is to get back. And so we'll see what Dempsey has in store for us. There's a right leg when I come back. Then I'll get a little stretch of time here at home. And then in the later part of the summer, I'm on the road again through the fall. And I'll be home before Thanksgiving. And then I anticipate some hit and miss rides between late summer and then through the fall. And then around Thanksgiving, we're going to crank him out again. And I'm looking for 100 rides in the winter. And that'll take us about back to our 1 year point. So there's a chance we could get 120 rides on him between now and then. We're certainly not going to get 300 rides on him, but be interesting to see how this carries. This has been a fun project, and this is a very common project. These horses, they're a dime a dozen. These guys like this, talented, but not being able to fill in for the lack of feel and expertise and knowledge by a lot of riders. So that's where he's going to be kind of fun. So be interesting to see what we can get out of that, and I'll be interesting to see what we have next April 1st. I'm hoping I got something that's kind of fun to ride. He's fun to ride, but I mean, there's nothing as thrilling as a horse that's kind of starting to get soft. So that's my goal, and this is an open-ended project. I'm not sure where he's going to take us. It's that old saying, I'm not sure where I'm headed, but I'm darn sure not lost. So we'll let him take us along. Yeah, all those clinics in those areas, we'd love to see you guys that want to come and be auditors. I always appreciate my auditors, and I always ask them to bring their questions. And this group of clinic sponsors we got coming up, I've had a couple of my good ones. I've been out to Washington already, and I was somewhere else. I've been a couple of places this spring already. Oh, Washington, and anyhow, a couple of good ones behind me and a great bunch of sponsors in front of me. So I'm very thankful for all you guys that participate, and I'm very thankful for my sponsors. They're my lifeblood. So we're pretty grateful. Yes, ma'am.
Linda says seeing nice softness coming through with them.
He's starting to get, he has his moments. Yeah. We haven't had one moment in the last 2 rides where he's gone to 80 pounds on my hands. Now, granted, I haven't been stopping him from a canter, but there was a lot of times I stopped him from a walk or trot and he was 80 pounds. So if you hard to believe you could have 40 pounds in your hands and feel like it's a success, but it's relative to where we started. It'd be the thing we'd want to acknowledge on him. So thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. Love spending time with you. Thank you for your good questions, your time. That's the thing that is the most important that we have to give each other. I appreciate you giving me my time. Donna, thanks for setting all this up and getting all this done. And look forward to seeing you on down the road next time. We'll see. We throw one of these together somewhere along the line. In June, if not before. So, all right. Bye, guys.